But getting back to the Rockets a little bit, I'll give you some of my notes here. I had finishing quarters. That was one thing I had, which they did do at the end of the. It was kind of a little bit of a double take there, and what I mean is that in the second quarter, they really right before halftime, they let the Rockets go on a big run, which they didn't finish it well, and then they were able to pull out a run of their own and actually tied it. But you don't want to be in that situation in the first place, and that's a theme also that I mean all of last night was bad, but still in all of the games so far this season, that's something I've seen. Um, and then some other things I had written down, and this ties into some of the other stuff we've already talked about: lack of ball speed, movement, and awareness. Now, granted, I'm writing this down, and it's like, and I even wrote this down also. Devin said we didn't have we didn't have the best first half against the Rockets. He said that in the post game press conference. This first half against the Rockets, after watching the Clippers game, looks incredible.
Yeah. Anything
he's right. He's right, but it's just so funny because I watched that last night and then watched this one, and I'm like, oh, Devin, you didn't even know.
He had no idea what was coming.
He had no idea. But that's why I have some of these. If it seems a little critical on some of these, it's because of that. I was still thinking how Devin was before seeing what Sunday was. I wrote when we run plays, good things happen most of the time. We don't do it often, but when we do, it usually leads to a good look or a made shot. Mm-hmm. Too much isolation. We talked about that. This is another thing I had written down: indecisiveness and nonchalantness. And what I mean by that is that kind of ties into isolation and the deer in the headlights kind of thing that I was talking about. We get the ball and we don't know what to do with it. And I think that ties in to once again just us not really running plays right now. Also, but still, if this is the situation, you can't just have the ball and then just stop like mid motion when other people are cutting, and then everybody's just like, okay, what do we do? We don't kind of have that constant motion, but the nonchalantness, that's the other thing. I feel like sometimes with our dribbles, this is a thing that unfortunately Jeremy sticks out a lot in my mind when I'm talking about this, but it's not just him. I mean, I've even seen this a little bit from Zach sometimes, and really the whole roster at times too. We're just not. This is kind of ties into awareness, but there's so many passes so far this season, Ethan, that I've seen where we throw it to somebody and they're not looking, and then it's a turnover.
That's a common problem. Another common problem is throwing it to somebody like taking half a second too long and letting the defender like make a play on the ball. And We've gotten away with it a lot where we're like we rip it away, the defender's out of position now, so like, oh, Spurs get a 3 or something. It's like, oh, great play. It's like, no, it was actually a bad play. We just got away with it. And the Clippers took advantage of those, but the Rockets did not. I agree with everything that you were saying. The Rockets game was not pretty either. There were a lot of negatives to take away. I think what got us away with a win. The Rockets are also in the same situation as us. They're a younger team. They make mistakes. They had 9 more fouls than we did, and they missed half of their free throws. So if they had hit 5 more free throws, they immediately win. They missed 10. And luckily for us, we were hitting shots. So, we were able to take advantage of those situations. Keldon had 20. Wemby came to play at the end of the game. He had 21. And Devin was consistently aggressive and looking for his shot. He had 25. So when those three get 20, we're going to be in the games. But it's those other little mistakes, like you were talking about, that lack of connectivity and aggression and overall chemistry that makes these games close and almost let the Rockets come back and win.
Yeah. And that even ties into like the way that game finished. It shouldn't have been as close as it was in overtime, but we were able to, on that last play, kind of get lucky with Keldon running to the rim and to get that dunk to close it out. What you just said there, the half second thing where it's like we're like half second too late. That's exactly what I meant when I was saying like nonchalantness. It's just we're not as intense as we should be on some, and I think that's caused by confusion. That's the other thing that I wanted to say. So that ties into kind of the whole scheme thing. So it's tough because some of it is out of their control. But when this is the situation,
There's no
It's
confidence in what they're doing. They don't
yeah,
know what they're doing.
exactly. And that's because of like what you said. We're figuring things out with Wembenyama. We don't really have a scheme, but it's like still, that's the situation. So you've got to be a little bit more intense. And it's like if we're gonna go free flowing, let's free flow hard. You know what I mean?
And you know what? That's going to bring me into my next point about this game. Somebody that free flows harder and better than anybody, and I think this may be who you were alluding to earlier, is Chetty Osman.
Absolutely.
And he almost more so than Trey, and Trey was fantastic in the Rockets game. I felt he was really
He
connecting with
was.
Wemby, and he was a big proponent of why we were able to like get into overtime and then win in overtime. But Chetty Osman is so connected somehow. Even though he's the new guy, he feels the most connected with everybody. And the ball
It's
doesn't
because
doesn't
he's a glue
stop.
guy.
Yeah, there's no hesitancy in any of his decision making, and he's always ready to pull from three on catch and shoot opportunities. And he was even solid in the Clippers game, to be
I
honest
agree.
with you.
He was the only reason we were kind of in it at the beginning.
And I'm gonna make a hot take here, Jude. This is not gonna happen, so people don't yell at me in the comments. This isn't even remotely gonna happen.
I think I might
But
know what you're about to say. Wait.
some things that might help us fix the starting unit. Put Chetty Osman in the starting unit.
Dude, I almost texted you that last night when we were texting, but I'm like, it's 3 games. I don't want to say anything.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
yeah.
was, but and I don't want to advocate as we're gonna say that we like the idea of this. Me
Hmm.
and you are both gonna say this, but we're also
Yeah,
gonna say we're not advocating lineup changes
yeah, not yet.
whatsoever. But I had that thought pop into my mind last night, dude, because you think about the playmaking skill and you think about what they're trying to do with this, and then also, I mean, and I'm not gonna get into that. All I'm gonna say is Trey and Sohan on the bench would
Yes.
probably help a lot of issues there too.